Hi guys, welcome to the Hoop Tricks Challenge. You will need one hoop, at least for now, but you will need two identically sized hoops for later on when we do our double hoop tricks. And if you've got quite a small dog, you may need a smaller hoop as well for the tricks where they're going to be picking it up, because a big hoop might be a little bit too big, but maybe see how you go. So to start with, where you're going to start training is really important. I recommend doing this on a soft surface, non-slippery, so don't do this on the kitchen tiles, for example, because your dog's prone to slip over and hurt themselves. If you've got a puppy, always keep the hoop nice and low to the ground. We don't want any big jumps with your young puppies, but they can certainly do the tricks where the hoops are nice and low. And we want to make sure that we're really mindful that our dog's back legs don't get trapped in the hoop as they jump through, because that could really freak them out. So if as they jump through you can feel the back legs getting stuck, rather than holding tight onto that hoop, just let it go so that it doesn't pull on their legs as they go through. Okay, so the first one we're going to start with is basically teaching our dogs to go through the hoop. Okay, so this is quite a nice easy one. It's a nice introduction to getting your dogs to go through the hoops, and then later on through the course we'll be doing various things with the hoop, including double hoop jumps, jumping over your back for the bigger dogs, picking the hoop up, going under the hoop, going to sit in the hoop, pretty much anything we can think of to do with the hoop we're going to do. So it's not all just going to be jumping. Hiccup. So what you want to start with is you want to have the hoop nice and low on the floor, and you're just going to lure your dog through. Good boy. I know, good boy. Go on. Yes, good boy. So you can mark yes as you bring him through. Yes. Good boy. Yes. And at the moment he's really relying on me luring him through with the food. Now what I want to start doing quite early on, once he's understands to go through the hoop, is I want to pick a cue. So the cue that I will use is jump, use whatever you like, and then your hand signal goes through afterwards. Now eventually we want this on a verbal cue only, especially for the jumping, because at some point you're not going to have use of both hands, so the dog relying on the lure is not going to work. So I'm going to start with your verbal cue, jump, and then lure your dog through. Good boy. Ready? Jump. Yes. Good boy. So I've still got food in my hand right now. Ready, Hiccup? Jump. Yes. Good boy. Once he's going through nice and reliably, jump. Get rid of the food in my hand as quickly as I can, so the dog's not relying on following the food. You ready? So without food in my hand this time, I'm going to give the verbal cue and I'm going to lure the dog through with no food, okay? Jump. Yes. Good boy. And then I'm still going to give him the food and reward. So come here. Hiccup. Ready? Jump. Yes. Good boy. I'm going to do this a few more times. Jump. Yes. And you can see at the moment the hoop is still pretty much on the floor, okay? Jump. Yes. Good boy. Are you ready? Now what I want to progress to, especially this week, if you can, is phasing out the hand signal, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to give less of a hand signal. So think of your hand signal as your lure as kind of giving the dog a hint about what we want them to do. We want to give them less and less hints as we go. So your initial hand signal might be a sweeping motion, and it might be a little bit less, a little bit less, a little bit less, and then nothing at all until we're just on the verbal cue only. Are you ready, Hiccup? Jump. Yes. Good boy. Ready? Jump. Yes. Good boy. Hiccup. No, we're not doing middle. Jump. Yes. Good boy. Ready? Jump. Yes. Good boy. Ready? Jump. Yes. Good boy. Ready? Jump. Yes. Good boy. So week one homework is just to get your dog to go through the hoop on a verbal cue without raising it up. We don't want the dogs actually jumping just yet. I want it on the floor, or ever so slightly just off the floor, so they know they're actually walking through it and making an effort to lift up all 4 feet. But I don't want any jumping this week. We just want to get going through the hoop on a cue without that hand signal. If at any stage your dog struggles, always go back a stage. Don't rush it. Take it at your dog's pace. Some dogs will need to be on the luring stage a lot longer. If your dog is scared of the hoop, you may want to spend a lot longer on actually luring your dog through, and you might need to literally have a whole handful of food and do this, for example. Hold on. Where you give them a little bit of food through each step of coming through the hoop. So you can reward ever so slight movements going through the hoop, rather than trying to get your dog to go all the way through before you reward. So if your dog is a little bit nervous, take your time with that first stage. Reward all the way through. Use some squeezy cheese if you have to. You can mark yes and reward as you go. Good boy. Just to build your dog's confidence with going through it or being near it. You can also pop this on the floor and do some scatter feeding. If your dog is really terrified, don't put the food in the hoop. Put it around so your dog can investigate the hoop itself at their own pace, rather than them feeling pressured to investigate the hoop just because there's food there that they really, really want, especially if they're really foodie. And then gradually you can bring the food closer and closer. So that is video 1. Next week we will take this a little bit further, so try and keep up so that we can progress the exercises each week. I'll be doing this with Hiccup, but I may also bring some of my other dogs out and do it with them depending on what we're doing. So post your videos in the comments on the Facebook group below so we can see how you guys are getting on. We can give you guys some feedback. Yeah, see you next week.